Welcome to another school year and another episode of Peralta Matters. I am your host, Jay Calhoun. We're back to the business of teaching and learning here at the Peralta Community Colleges, and we start our new year off by speaking to the new Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District, Dr. José M Ortiz. So, sit back, relax, and let's get into what matters at Peralta.
I already had a bachelor's degree when I came to Laney. 5 years later, I earned 3 associate degrees, majoring in biology, Spanish, and liberal arts, and was also named valedictorian. Laney College is a wonderful place for professionals seeking new careers or preparing for advanced studies. I have no pulse. We have great teachers who are not only experts in their field, but who genuinely care. I am Sarah Klimek. Laney works for me.
I'm Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Join me in watching Peralta TV.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I am your host, Jay Calhoun. What better way to start the new year off than talk to our new Chancellor, Dr. José M Ortiz. Dr. Ortiz, welcome to the show, man.
Jay, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on. Excellent. Before we get into what you plan to do and what the new position requires of you, let's talk a little bit about your background. Born and raised in New York, a myriad of accolades, both from being a professor to an administrator to a president, 20 years in the Bay Area. What brought you to California from New York, first of all?
Well, Jay, I think that I am a native New Yorker and proud of that.
Right on.
But 20 years ago, I saw an advertisement in the Chronicle of Higher Education for a job at Solano College
Okay.
that I thought I was perfectly suited for.
Right on.
And I applied, called the hiring officer, who happened to be Ione Ilioff, who used to be with Peralta. And I asked her, is this serious before I spend money coming out here?
Right.
And she said, oh, yes, an open search. So one thing led to another, and then I went back home. I was living in Maryland.
Okay.
And I gathered my family, my wife and kids, and said, well, I have an opportunity to go to California. Are you all
ready for
with
that?
me with this, Of course, my 2 daughters who were high school age, they said, oh, no, we ain't going. I said, well, you may not be going, but I am, so you better pack your bags. And so that was 20-some-odd years ago, and my daughters now love California.
Excellent.
And I came to Solano College in 1991.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since. I haven't turned back.
So now from Solano to Laney, then to Los Angeles, or down to Southern California?
Well, actually, yes, I was at Solano for 11 years.
Wow.
Then I started to get stale there, of course, and I saw an opportunity at Laney College to be a vice president of instruction.
Excellent.
Deborah Blue was the president of Laney at the time, and she put me through the ringer in the interview process.
Right on.
And I guess I came out on top and was hired. So I moved to Oakland. I actually bought a house in the Fruitvale district.
Huh.
And my wife and I enjoyed a good 3 years here. Then I was getting ready for an interview for Laney College president. And I went down to the Central Coast there was a position at Allen Hancock College. So I went down there to practice my interview skills.
Really?
And
wound up getting the gig.
One thing led to another. And what happened was that the Board of Trustees at Hancock College met the same day that the Peralta Board met to offer me the position. Hancock College met at 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
and they don't meet till
Peralta
6.
met at 7 o'clock. And the little bird told me, hey, take the first thing that comes your way. So that's how I ended up at Allen Hancock College, which is located in Santa Maria.
So you were 3 hours away from being president of Laney College. In
Something like that. Something like that.
I like it.
And, but you know, the silver lining to all that was it prepared me for this job.
Excellent.
And that's, I feel, coming back to be chancellor. If it wasn't for that experience of being a superintendent president, which meant dealing and working directly with the board, working directly with faculty and classified unions, and all of that, what it takes to be a chief executive officer. I feel that was my training ground to be able to come here to Peralta
To serve.
and function as a chancellor.
Speaking of that, you, throughout the course of your career, have served in many a position. So it gives you a different perspective on all those things that you just talked about that you now have to deal with or had to deal with at Hancock. Talk a little bit about, one, your experience as a teacher, English as a second language, and the myriad of other things you probably taught.
Well, interesting that as a faculty member, I was a faculty member at the University of Puerto Rico, where I was teaching English. I'm an English major.
Right.
Though I have a master's degree in teaching English as a second language. But in Puerto Rico, English is a second language for everyone.
Huh. Okay.
And whether you were talking about Shakespeare or talking about basic skills, it was still the second language.
Wow.
So my experience as an instructor, regardless of the level, many times took me back to basic language skills, whether it was speaking, writing, or reading. That was most of my experience as a faculty member at the University of Puerto Rico.
Excellent. And then moving on to administration, how do you feel that helped prepare you, one, for Hancock, and then allow you to have a different perspective now as Chancellor of the Peralta Colleges?
Well, about, I guess a good 30 years ago, I used to, I was a teacher of English as a second language to adults in a adult program, what we used to call the CETA programs, and they were job training skills, a federal program. And at that time, I was an instructor. Of course, I was working for an administrator.
Exactly.
And I thought to myself, well, you know, I could do better than this guy. And maybe maybe it's time for me to think about administration.
Right.
So at the time, after I finished my master's degree in teaching English as a second language, I had an opportunity to go to the University of Maryland to do a doctorate in administration.
Excellent.
So that was kind of a conscious decision for me to become an administrator. And right after that, I went back to Puerto Rico to teach English, but also to run programs.
Right on.
And so I've been in administration for good over almost 30 years. And I like to think I'm pretty good at it because to me, administration is a combination of being a manager and being a leader and trying to bring those two things together. In my view, you cannot be a leader if you can't manage your business. And managing your business, in order to take it to a higher level, I think you need to be a leader. Yeah. So I'm hoping I embody both of those characteristics.
Sounds good, sounds good. We'll be right back and talk to the new leader of the Peralta Community College District, Dr. José M Ortiz, in a few minutes. We'll be right back.
BCC is awesome. Other colleges that I've been at, it's more like students keep to themselves. You're in class and then out. But at Berkeley, you know, you make friends and people who want to help you. It's a collaborative experience. If it's something that you really want to do, then you should definitely come check us out.
turn the guitars down. It's time to sculpt the sound. The volume's too high. He is not horsing around. Turn the guitars down. It is the classic standoff. We like to play at 11. You like to turn us off. Turn the guitars down.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I'm your host, Jay Calhoun. We are still joined by Dr. José M Ortiz, new Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District. Let's talk a little bit now about the philosophy that you would incorporate in the new position now as Chancellor. We had the pleasure of hearing you in your welcoming speech talk about some of the things you want to change culturally. I thought it was personally inspiring to hear that you specifically have certain values and certain philosophies that you want to apply to your position here. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Well, Jay, I think for me, I have a fundamental approach to life, and both as a professional and personal. It's not even about here at Peralta, but my view and my leadership style is what I call a servant leadership.
Okay.
Because I feel that my role is to serve. And what I would like to instill in our employees, our faculty and administrators, is service to our community. Service to our students, obviously, and service to our employees. Because to me, employees and students are, in fact, the people I serve. Excellent. And in serving, I think it's also important that I, as the administrator or just the institution, have certain values. And those values I've mentioned in my speech last week have to do with, it sounds corny sometimes to say you have integrity, that you care for people, that you respect people. Well, those things are very fundamental to me. And I think that in an institution like Peralta, certainly in an area like Berkeley and Oakland, the East Bay, where life is tough enough, if we, as an institution of higher education, treat our students and our employees with respect and integrity, at the very least, that makes their life a little bit more manageable. And I feel that I embody those characteristics, and that's what I would like to see be institutionalized at the Peralta Community College District, so that people who come for services at our colleges can at least say that they were treated with respect and dignity and service.
Right on. You're 90 days plus, so around there, into the job. What, as carefully as you can, what can you see so far in the culture of what's at Peralta?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious to me that the Peralta Colleges and the district office, the culture here has had many years, I think, of challenges and struggles with certainly financially. We've had struggles with our accreditation situation. We've had struggles with our technology. But the community has been very supportive and very responsive. Obviously, not only with the recent partial tax that was passed, but even before that, we had bond measures passed and what have you. So this community respects and in my view, wants the Peralta Colleges to be successful. I believe that our faculty and staff and administrators want us to be successful. And in the end, I also know that our Board of Trustees wants us to be successful. We've had challenges on the relationship with administrators and faculty and trustees, but I think all of that is being put behind us with the hiring of the new chancellor, i.e. me, to forge a new direction.
Right.
And I am convinced that our board of trustees is committed to a new direction. I'll be working with them closely in the next several years, and I firmly believe that working with the board of trustees, we're going to be a better district in the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm committed to do that.
I like that. Can you cite, and I know this is a little off, but can you cite any instances in your career where the philosophy and the fundamentals that you carry have actually shown you some result, or shown you, you know, the change happening that you want to see happen?
Well, that's a good question, because sometimes these things are intangible. But for instance, even in the short 60 days that I've been here,
Right.
that I've been able to walk around the district office, walk around some of the campuses. I'll give you an example of walking the talk. And on the other day, there was a student in my office who was identified some problems in getting financial aid and not getting responses from staff or administrators. I took it upon myself to help this student by taking them to the appropriate people and asking folks to help this student, blah, blah, blah. And then today, I think that some of that walking the talk, some of that example has paid off, because I was talking to a staff person and talking to a student, and they indicated to me that they feel things are different, that they're being attended to, that things are a whole lot better this semester than they were last semester. Now, I don't attribute that to me necessarily, but it is an attitude, and that attitude, I believe, is turning around here at the Peralta Colleges, because people are realizing that regardless of who sits at the top, it really is about serving our students, and that's coming to be. Also, where I came from, I had someone come up to me to say, you know, Dr. Ortiz, the reason we know you're going to be successful is because we know that you care. And it's funny that he said that, because I never used the word care. I didn't say, hey, I care. But there's something about the persona, how we treat people. Like I said earlier, with dignity and respect, that means that you care. And when you care, people respond. And I think that's what I hope can happen here, because I do care not only about our students, but I also care about our employees.
Excellent.
I even care about you, Jay.
I appreciate that. I'm glad that I'm cared for here. We'll be right back in a few minutes with Peralta Matters. Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I am your host, Jay Calhoun. Dr. Ortiz, let's talk a little bit about your Flex Day address. And you spoke to 3 burning imperatives. Let's start with the first one. What would it be?
Well, Jay, first of all, when I talk about burning imperatives, I'm talking about issues that I believe require immediate attention.
Exactly.
All right? And for us here at Peralta, there are 3. Okay. The first is accreditation. The second is the technology, and the third is finance.
Okay.
And as far as accreditation is concerned, we just had our most recent report to the Accreditation Commission, they came back and said to Peralta that we haven't done enough, that they will continue to keep us on a warning status, but that we are close to getting out of that situation if we complete their recommendations. So we have 4 recommendations that I feel we are in a position to complete. The first one has to do with some audit findings from our financial bookkeeping, and I think that having talked to our staff here, we're really ready to reconcile that.
Excellent.
Another recommendation had to do with our long-term liability for retirement purposes. That too, I believe, we're ready to reconcile. And then the third issue for the district office has to do with board policies. And those board policies need to be revised and revised. And I know we're doing that, and we should be finished by the end of this calendar year.
Excellent.
The last recommendation is probably the most important, and that one has to do with each individual college and how the colleges respond to the budget reductions that they've experienced in the last several years. Those budget reductions obviously have an impact on course offerings, on services to students. So the teaching and learning experience is compromised by that reduction. So the Accreditation Commission is asking each college to provide a plan on how they're going to respond to these reductions and maintain the quality teaching and learning experience for our students.
That's excellent. That's excellent. What would be the other burning imperative?
The other burning imperative that I mentioned is the technology issues. And the Peralta Colleges have, for as far back as I remember, at least 10 years, we've invested a great deal in technology. We've unfortunately have had a few missteps. We've had a few false starts. And in technology, as you know, each time you have a false start or each time there's a misstep, it gets expensive. And not only does it get expensive, but it gets frustrating, and your staff becomes frustrated. So we are faced with a huge challenge in trying to right our technology house. And we are bringing in new staff and a new associate vice chancellor to help us address that area. And so I'm looking forward to the next year or so to making that happen. And then the more, I guess,
pressing, burning
the other burning imperative is a no-brainer, and that is finances. We are a district that is challenged from a fiscal standpoint. We've been reduced by the state in the last 5 years or so, totaling $50 million. So it is very difficult to conduct business when your funding is going south.
And we're talking about the business of servicing students.
That's exactly right. So we are fortunate, as I mentioned earlier, that the public here in the Oakland, Berkeley, Alameda area have supported a parcel tax. That parcel tax will help us maintain our services, meaning our teaching and learning services, at least to the level of this past year. Now, there is a statewide tax initiative on the ballot in November that, if it passed, it would be a great windfall for the Peralta Colleges, because then we can use the parcel tax to expand what we do and to restore some of the cuts that we've had in the last 5 years. So between the parcel tax and the state tax, if it passes in November, it would be great for Peralta, because it'll help us rise up to the challenge of continued quality education.
which I think is paramount to not only what we do, but why we are actually here every day servicing, why the show exists, why you are now Chancellor, is to put these students in the best possible position they could be by our service.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, public education has been defunded or devalued in many corners of the country, but we really cannot afford to let that continue.
I agree.
And hopefully in November, the state population recognizes that and votes for this tax that's going to help all of education, not just community colleges, but the K-12 system, the colleges and universities in the state of California. And we really need to recognize the value of public education for our future. And that includes all of us.
All of us, right.
Because it's the quality of life that we're depending on our students to provide for the rest of us as I get old. So you're not getting old, but I'm getting old.
You look young, man. You're only 25 years old. What you talking about?
Is that right? But I do like your haircut, Jay.
We look good with it.
Man.
Thank you, appreciate it. Dr. Ortiz, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. We were just joined by the new Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District, Dr. José M Ortiz. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
I'm a veteran, and I was looking into some of the trades. Signing up for classes at College Alameda was really easy because you have the online stuff, and then the administration building was really helpful. The VA department, speaking with the dean, it was really easy to just get all the paperwork done and get going in the class. It's an easy transition from the military and Iraq to coming into here.
I want to thank Dr. Ortiz for coming on the show. We learned a lot about his plans for the future and what we have to look forward to from the Peralta Community College District. Again, I want to thank you for watching. And until I see you again, do something that matters.
Peralta TV, programs that matter.